10. This movie is doing great at the box office, critically, and every which way. And Amy, I forgot to mention too, you just won Best Actress from the National Board of Review. So congratulations on that. So let me start with you, Amy, because I think you were actually attached to this movie, as they say in the business, before Denis came on board, or is that wrong?
No, Denis was attached.
You were attached.
Long before.
Long before, okay. It's been years in the making, basically, this movie. So tell us how it came about then, and how you got involved with this film, because it started as a short story.
Yeah, the thing is that it's like there's a part of it that was a long process, and there's a second part that was quite fast process. Which I came in contact with the story. It was like after one of my movie that I made, I was like meeting some people in Los Angeles to know what I would do next, and I was really interested by science fiction. And two producers, Dan Levine and Dan Cohen, introduced me that this fantastic short story written by Ted Chiang, The Story of Your Life, and I strongly recommend to you, if you have the chance to read that short story. It's really a little gem, it's really a little masterpiece. And I read it, and I fell in love with it, and I came back to them. I said, it's fantastic, but I have no idea how to translate this into a movie, because it's a story, very beautiful. It's a beautiful intellectual story about the process, and there was no really a dramatic structure. And at that time I was going to do another movie. I was about to shoot, so I said, I'm interested, but and then as I was away, there's a screenwriter, his name is Eric Heisserer, that came on board. In fact, he was on board before me. It's a long story, but let's keep it short. Eric cracked it, and when suddenly I received that screenplay, and I was impressed by Eric's work, and I immediately said yes, and then I worked a bit more with Eric as I was doing another movie, and then, so that's the long story. The short story started when we offered the part to Amy, that she was our first choice. And usually when you approach, A-list actors, it's always like weeks, months. But with Amy, it took, I think, hours, like 2 days, and we received an answer that she wanted to come on board and meet me, and I was really impressed. And since that day, she was like as engaged and committed to the project. It was so from that once Amy got on board, it went very fast, I should say.
I think that's interesting. You mentioned science fiction, and I know you had wanted to do science fiction forever, just never found the right thing. And Amy, this is science fiction, but it seems it's more intimate, it's more internal. It's different than science fiction to me. And what was it that appealed to you that you knew you were going to do this so quickly?
Character immediately grabbed me in the first 15 or 20 pages, and I loved the way that she was a mother. I loved that she was an intellect. I loved that she sort of worked in this environment with men, and kind of there was a very subtle spunk to her. It didn't feel overt, but she was a very strong, intelligent, instinctive woman. And then I got to the end of the script and was like, what did I just read? I had to immediately go back and read it again, and said I have to meet the filmmaker that's going to take this on, because again, like the short story, it was like, how do we tell this story, this non-linear emotional journey? And so it's been a wonderful process to figure out how to do that, and I knew I was in excellent hands with Denis and with the entire crew is just amazing, and everybody was the response that I had in reading it, everybody had in making it. You know what I mean? It's very rare that that authenticity of the first read stays with you the entire shoot, and it really did. It really did, because everybody on board developed a very special relationship with the story, and so it was it's really fun to do.
I'm so happy it's doing so well at the box office, because you never know. Well, no, you know, it's not Independence Day, you know. And this is
never
a
know.
This is a thinking person's movie, and it seems like people have accepted it and go with it for that. It's not a cookie cutter alien film. There's so many interesting themes. And Denny, you've made so many movies with women at the center of it, I noticed too. Yeah, so. I don't know if that's...
There are some men whose arms are crossed, like... I'm like, we love you too, we love you too.
But it's true, it's true, and this obviously is another one where you have a woman at the center of this. Is that something you search out, or, you know, what is it for you?
It's a good question, because it's like it's just inspiration. It's just that I love women. I'm inspired. I feel that I think it's like there's a lot of stories that involve women with their relationship with power, relationship with the society. I'm coming from a place in the world, Quebec, in Canada, that is like quite progressist place in the women in society. It's like some Scandinavian countries. It's like a lot of the feminist movement was pretty strong there, but not in a fight. I know. Okay, landmine. Okay. It's just say that it's like I was raised with strong women around me and not being afraid of that, seeing that as a strength. No, but I don't say that to sound politically correct. It's, I believe in that for real, and it's like I'm inspired, and so sometimes the truth is sometimes I'm choosing projects because there's that sensibility in the movie. And sometimes the projects are coming to me. It's like inspiration is a very strange thing. I mean, it's like,
This is a movie in which you play a linguist and a professor, but it's about communication, and you do so much of it with your eyes. I thought the camera work here is fantastic, by the way. But I mean
Yeah, Bradford was amazing to work with.
Yeah. So talk about the process. This is a room full of actors here. So the process of working, you know, and you obviously must have researched linguistics and with somebody, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. It was important to me to have an understanding of what her job was and what would qualify her to go into this situation, and how the skills that she developed in that job would then inform how she would approach this. That was important to me. And speaking with a linguist, it was really wonderful to learn about the different areas of linguistics, which I didn't know, and sort of Louise would have been more sort of like a field linguist who also then took it into the classroom. And so this woman talked about working with sort of indigenous people and sort of preserving Mayan languages, like kind of amazing. And so I imagined that going into those environments and sort of needing to, you know, really lose yourself and really sort of just become enmeshed in those societies. You can't be judgmental. You have to be very open and very compassionate in order to have people trust you and sort of, you know, it's almost like shooting a documentary in a way. You know, you have to become a person who they can really you know, invite into their communities. And I imagine that that's what Louise did in sort of her fieldwork time. But, now I'm babbling, but because once I start talking about acting, like this is something that I don't talk about a lot because I can talk about it for like hours and really not go anywhere, because it's one of those things that what works for me is, you know, someone else has a different opinion or a different thing that plays into them. But when I'm researching a role, it's important to know enough. Like, I don't want to try to pretend that I'm an expert, because even though she is, and I want that to come across, I never want the focus of my work to be what she does. I want it to be who she is. So I spent so much more time working on her life, who she was, how she spends her time, what her past is, what her relationship is with her mother. We never talk about her father, you know, like I know everything about her, even if it's not relevant, if it's seemingly irrelevant to the story.
You create a whole backstory
Yeah.
for her that's not in the script at all.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do that on every film you do,
Yeah.
for every character?
Yeah, more so with Louise because I really wanted to create a person, because of the ending, when you watch it a second time, I want it to hold up. I want you to understand her from a different perspective because you feel in watching it the first time that she's experienced loss, this one particular profound loss, which you don't realize till the end that she has not experienced yet. But you need to believe she is a person who understands and who has sort of a depth to her that has loss to it and has sort of a profound loneliness.
You know, I did see it a second time. Because the first time this is a movie, it sounds like I'm a marketing person, but you've got to see this a second time. You really do. There's so much.
It's an old trick.
She's applauding. Are you with the studio or oh?
This is a totally plot, right?
Yeah. I love hearing about people's experience the second time because it's a totally different.
Completely. You know, it's just it's a movie with layers. Sometimes you see a movie a second time, you start seeing all the bones and the making of it and things, and you don't hear it at all. I mean, it's really. And also, this is a lighter movie. I don't want to use the word light, but you work in a lot of darkness, Denny. I don't know if you've noticed it in your movies. There's a very dark area in a lot of those, and this one seems a little more hopeful to me.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence because I was like I did in the past, like I think 5 movies in a row that were not like comedies. I was like the last one was a movie called Sicario, and it was about. Thank you. It's again, it's quite dark, and as I was doing Sicario, I knew that I made a deal with myself that after Prisoners doing Sicario, I will go there again, knowing that I was doing Arrival after, knowing that I will go in something that was not will be more optimistic, not a bit more bright, a bit more brightness. As you noticed, I think that's you guys. Some of you are actors, which means that you are A, articulate, and B, comfortable in front of a crowd, which I'm not. So sometimes I would like to add something about the previous question that I was trying to answer in a very clumsy way about making movies about women. I hope one day that it will be not exotic to make movies about women. That would be the proper answer.
I think we're getting there. I've seen a lot of great movies with women this year. I mean, you know, it's really been a remarkable year for a lot of different kinds of roles, I think. Yeah. I mean, you've had 2 of them, you know, between this and Nocturnal Animals that are both really, really interesting parts. And not easy to do. You know, I mean.
Well, they're both very internal, and they both require something different. But in watching them back to back, I was sort of struck with the nature of each film is so different, but they have this non-linear way of telling stories, and I don't know why I was so attracted to that at that time. Like, it seemed very challenging, and I think I'm really attracted to a challenge or something that feels like it could go really wrong, you know, like, let's do it. Like, I find it thrilling to go on that journey.
I want to get questions from them, but one of the questions that they may have I'd be interested in is, it was called Story of Your Life. Even last spring at the CinemaCon where Paramount revealed some footage from it, it was still called that, or they were calling it that. How did you always know you were going to change the title, or what, you know?
Yes. The thing is that the screenplay was in the agencies and the studios and it was called Story of Your Life. And when we start to work on it, I said we should call it Untitled Sci-Fi Project, or because Story of Your Life first it belongs to the short story, which is different. So by respect for Ted Chiang, I wanted to, because we didn't respect the integrity of we made some change from and so I wanted that it would be a different, clear for the audience that it will be two different stories in some ways. And also, Story of Your Life, personally, I felt it looks fantastic for the short story, but for a movie, it felt like a rom-com. I don't know, I didn't like that. I didn't like the sound of it for a movie. And
Plus, Enchantés, Prisoners, Sicario,
yes,
you like one word.
a bit monomaniac.
Yeah, you like one word in those titles.
I love words. I think it's like since I'm little, I thought before being a film writer, a filmmaker, I thought I would be a writer, and which idea very quickly I decided I'm not a good writer. But it's like I love words. I really deeply love words and the meaning of words and the poetry behind them, and it's beautiful to try to focus on just one specific and try to bring depth into it. I deeply love that, but we'll see in the future.
Well, you picked a great title because it plays on many levels. It's really good. Okay, yes, right up there. Yes, sir.
Hi, thank you first of all for coming and speaking today. I love the movie, it was very inspiring. I was very affected by it. I didn't expect for that to happen that much. But I have a question for you, Amy. You spoke about how you create a backstory for every character. Can you share like exactly what you do?
I think that's so, sure. It's interesting because when I moved to LA, I came from musical theater, and I worked on instinct. The problem was that when I had to play deeper emotions, I would freeze, and I couldn't figure out why. I was lucky enough, my younger brother, who was acting at the time, said, I went to this acting class, and I was like, I'm not going to an acting class, because I tried substitution, I tried all this stuff, and it turns out, like, for me, anytime I am confronted with something, I handle it very differently than my characters would. Like, when I'm angry, I shut down. So it doesn't work. So I worked with this woman who sort of taught me this technique, and oddly enough, you use memory. Not your own memory. You create memory for the character, very detailed, specific memory. And I thought, wow, what a wonderful thing to get to sort of play a character who's living in detailed, like having these things that feel like detailed memories, where you feel the clay, you see something, you have a memory of what the grass felt like, and it creates something that feels textured and real, and it kind of is this magnificent mindfuck in a way. Pardon, I swore in public. Sorry, it's like the Giselle in me comes out when I swear in public. I'm like, oh no.
What we are on tape.
I know. I was like, oh, so you're not thing that we edit out. I do. I turn into Giselle. I swear at home all the time, not in front of my child. Sorry, this is going really poorly. But what I meant, but it is about, it's just creating a place where I can exist in my character that I don't own. It belongs to my character, and that for me creates a safety net and a place where I feel like I can navigate the waters in a different way than I do, because I spent a lot of time and energy getting rid of my dysfunction in my own life, and I don't want to revisit it, you know? I'm like, no. Of course who you are is going to play into it no matter what, But that's how I do it. And her name's Warner Laughlin, if you ever want to check her out. She's a lovely woman, and it's a very, it's just a technique of working that's worked for me.
Sure, right there. Yes, hi. That's you.
Yeah, thanks for coming out again. For the director, you said you like words, you love words. The Hannah line, did you have anything to do with that and the symbolism of the movie, going back and forth? It means the same thing both ways.
You're talking about her name, Anna?
Hannah, but it was
Palindrome.
she was talking about it spelled.
Yes. But that is an idea that was in the screenplay. I mean, the screenwriter did his homework. There was a lot of of layers like that we had fun to work with the actors and the editing room. So it was like, no, it's not an idea I came with. It's like coming from Eric. Yeah,
Okay, yes, sir.
Amy, if I could ask you to just go back to your process a little bit. The phone call with your mother, where we believe, of course, we know what she's asking you on the phone, but of course, by the end, we realize we don't know what she's talking to you. What were you talking to?
He's asking about the phone call with your mother, specifically.
Is that okay? I don't want to. I don't want to tell you because then maybe it won't work for you. The wonderful thing about having secrets as an actor is it allows the audience to have their own questions and their own solutions, which I think is a wonderful thing to have. When I watch a movie, I don't want to know every answer. I love the mystery. I love the conversations. I love, the details that I get to catch on a second viewing or third viewing. That's what I love about a performance, is when it feels lived in and when there's things to it that I'll never understand. I love that about acting and things I don't tell Denis. And if he needs to know them, of course I'll tell them, but he might be like, no, that's, all right, sorry, here I go into my French accent. Okay, I was doing press without Denis for he was working on Blade Runner. And so he hasn't been here, and so I was instead acting like him, doing a very bad accent. And now he's here, and I slip into it, and I'm like, ooh, okay. I forget what I was saying, but he might.
You were talking about your secrets.
My secrets,
Yeah,
but that I feel that it doesn't. He might have a different idea of how to approach that, and as long as we end up in the same place, really the journey there isn't as important as getting there together. And so I don't always share, he's like, what are you thinking? No, I don't always share all the decisions I've made on how to get there, unless we need to have that conversation, unless something's not working, and then we can talk about it. But a lot of times I just make decisions because you don't have a lot of time on set or a lot of rehearsal process necessarily to come up with all of these things, or to have a director tell you what their thoughts about your character are. So you have to make a lot of those decisions on your own. Yeah.
Okay, yes, right there. Hi.
Hi. Thank you both again for coming, and I love the film. Amy, you already touched on the similarities between creating memories of a fictional character and the process your character goes through. And Denis, I was wondering if the message of the film of this idea of seeing the future has anything to do with inspiration. As you said, sometimes you are choosing projects, sometimes projects are coming to you the same way. I feel the same way that some of the future memories. Is that sort of a message you're trying to convey or related?
True inspiration? No, I never saw this like that. That's interesting. And it's a poetic, yeah. For me, it was more linked with the idea of death. I mean, my relationship with death and how to be in peace with it and to find a kind of humility, being in relationship with nature. That was my way into this movie, but inspiration could be an interesting way to see it too, yeah.
Okay, yeah, right here in front.
Thanks so much. I think you two are the two greatest filmmakers working today, in my opinion. So it's such a joy to see
He's just saying he thinks you two are the two greatest filmmakers working today.
It's very generous.
And before I get to my question, I also want to thank you because I personally was extremely depressed after the election. And the next day I saw your film, a midnight screening, and it just made me feel a lot better. Hopefully,
Another two-timer here.
yeah.
Second time.
My question to you is, this is the poster is for me the most striking one in the film, with all the fog rolling in and the way the ship is set up. Was that something that was in the script, or is that something that you worked with the production designer on? How did that strike you?
He's asking about this scene, the scene that's depicted on the poster and the fog rolling in and how that came about.
So the truth is that the shot was like designed, everything was designed, and we were looking for a specific kind of light, and it's not necessarily a big budget movie, so I had like not a lot of long. I have a very, very specific short window of time in the helicopter, and when we climbed with the helicopter, arrived in front of the valley, pilots start to swear, and French Canadians saying, "Oh no, it doesn't work. There's like those clouds. They were not supposed to be there." And when I said, no, shoot, let's shoot. It's fantastic. and it's like so. It's like I'm coming from indie movies with small budgets where you can write a story. And I remember vividly some of when I was young, writing a scene. You write this screenplay for 4 years, and at the end, the final scene would be under a bright, harsh sun. It's going to be brutal sun. It's going to be the light of the sun. And with the cinematographer, we planned this for months. And when you arrive in the morning of the shooting, it's freezing cold, and it's like raining, and it's dark, and the characters in the swimming pool, and everybody are freezing, and you have to shoot, and you have to find a way to embrace nature to make it strong, and you have to let it go, so I like to stay in a relationship with nature like that. And when I see something that is not planned, but I think with my intuition that it can bring something stronger in the movie, I embrace it now. Doing so, it creates problems later, because as the character are landing, it means that there's like guys in CGI that has like some headaches trying to recreate clouds around, because I decided to embrace those shots. But it was, it's like, I love gifts like that coming from nature. It's like, it was a big gift. And as we were shooting it, I remember Bradford was laughing and said, "Nobody will believe this. They will all think it's computer generated,
Okay, way up there. Yes, ma'am. Right there.
Hi, my question is for Amy. I had the luxury and honor to study at Warner Studio.
Oh, wow.
And my question is, when you're shooting scenes that don't have a build-up to an emotional moment, how do you ground yourself to get to that place when there's a million things to be distracted about, internally and externally?
How do you get yourself prepared for emotional scenes? Is that what you're asking, basically? Yep. Okay.
Are you speaking? I'm sorry, I misunderstood. You mean like when it's just when it is an emotional scene and you have to stay grounded and focused?
Or any scene, so like when it cuts to the frame of you reacting to the monster, and it's like, obviously there's no monsters, there's no physical, for you, the person, to build up to that moment. How do you bring yourself there?
For me, it's not about that moment. It's about all the moments before. So I don't think about what I have to do in that moment. I try not to think at all, to be quite honest. I let go of my process and I breathe Louise. I stop thinking about what Amy wants from the scene, and I start paying attention to what the scene's telling me. It changes. The process changes once I start working. I try to get out of my head. I'm a very pragmatic person, and I can be very detailed and very sort of, I remember talking to Denis. This is when I knew that I could trust him, because it's a funny story to say this is how we built trust, but I was worrying about some strange detail that probably was important to me, but not important for the bigger picture. I was going on and on and on, and when I get going, I start talking kind of fast, and I get kind of spazzy, and I'm really into it, and Denis says, "You must stop." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, no, I am sure what you're saying is very important, but I have not been listening for like a minute." And I was like, okay. He goes, "Not because I don't want to, I just cannot understand what you're saying." And I so valued that he knew I could handle that, you know what I mean? But it made me realize that sometimes what I need from somebody is just something that's inside myself. So all of that talking is so I can hear myself come up with the answer. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have to say things out loud. And what's great is he would just nod, from then on he just sort of nodded when it happened. I knew he didn't know what I was saying, but he was like, "She will get there." She will get there.
What the process.
But I'm like running around in circles, sorry, but I also have stage fright, so that's kind of like the two of us up here. It's like an amazing, it's true, you can see I'm shaking, I'm not good. But at that point, and in working with Warner's process, what is good about it for me is that it taught me how to truly focus my breath. which was a big thing. And a friend of mine said this, and this kind of helps sometimes. Just because they said action doesn't mean you have to go. Take a breath. Pay attention. Feel the ground. Feel the air. Feel your costume.
I'm trying.
So for me, that's kind of what I do, because I know what you're saying though, because sometimes what happens is action happens and all this tension and all of this stuff starts to. But yeah, I think just let go of what you want and pay attention to what the scene is asking of you, what the other actors are asking, what the story is, what the character is doing and feeling. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I know, because you're like pointing to yourself and everything. Yes, it's you.
Thank you. So I know it's been forever, Amy, that you've auditioned. But if you could transport yourself to those days, and then was there like a moment where you like, you had an audition, you're like, I get it, or were you always great, or was there anything like that?
No, I'm still not always great. It's funny, I was just reading some young actresses recently, and I was all nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in this audition room, it's been a while, and it was sort of all these memories came back. No, there wasn't a moment where I thought I got it. I think I kind of had times that things were going really well, and I felt very empowered, and sometimes it just felt like I couldn't walk into another room. Like, not because I couldn't hear no. It wasn't that, it was just that I didn't want to invest so much time and energy and spirit and soul and not get to sort of live out the life of the character that I just spent like hours and hours prepping, you know? But then I started seeing it as a gift. Like, I may never get an opportunity, and at that point I didn't know, would I ever get an opportunity to play these characters? And so I started looking at it as a gift instead of looking at it as like a stressful thing. How wonderful if all I have with this character is this 5 minutes, then I'm going to take that for me. I'm not going to worry about what they're looking for. I started treating it as acting exercises, which ended in a lot of comedy because I made a lot of mistakes in rooms. This one time they're like, we just want to be surprised. So I'm like, this is going to be fun. So I decide the character takes off her boots, but I wasn't wearing boots, you know? So I'm like, what is she doing? You know? And I could tell that they were all like so uncomfortable, and I was like, oh, they didn't want to be surprised like that. Like, that's not what they meant. But just be kind to yourself. I would say that. Just be kind to yourself. Yeah.
I like that. That's a great way to end. Just be kind to yourself. And let's thank Amy Adams and Denis Villeneuve for coming out here.